Okay, welcome to Coffee with Marcus and Mark, the number one stock market show on Spotify and one of the most popular market updates on YouTube. In this show, we talk about what's happening in the markets and how we're trading them. Today is Thursday, December 22nd, and stocks finished higher for the second day straight yesterday with consumer confidence at its highest since April. Final GDP this morning shows the economy is rising or growing faster than expected, and crude oil has a 3-day win streak to contend with. Micron earnings disappoint, so we'll take a look at that. And AMC getting hammered after a surprise announcement. Plus, we'll look at PowerX Optimizer to see if we should sell CTRA calls. And we'll take a look and see what's going on there and what we're doing with that position. As you could see, there's a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. If this is your first time here, my name is Mark Hodge, and I'm head coach at Rockwell Trading. I'm flying solo this morning, but on most days I'm joined by Rockwell Trading's founder, Markus Heitkoetter. And even though I'm alone today, I promise that you're in good hands. You could say that here at Rockwell Trading, we have a ton of trading experience. We know our stuff, and we're not afraid to tell it like it is. So if you're looking for some honest insights into the world of trading, you have come to the right place. Now, before we dive in and show some of our trades and how we're tackling these crazy markets, let's look at what's moving the markets today. And let me go ahead, share my screen here. There we go. So here we see the S&P 500. S&P 500 trading at 3806, down 1.9% for the trading session, which is a sharp reversal from yesterday. Yesterday, the S&P finished 1.5% higher, really just pretty much across the board, about 1.5% higher for the major indices. So a nice day, back-to-back wins. It looks like unless there's this massive reversal that comes later today, we will snap that short 2-day win streak and finish back at levels that we had before that 2-day win streak. Yesterday, some optimism over FedEx and Nike, with some big names reporting better than expected earnings. We also had that highest consumer confidence since April, but markets don't seem to care today. And some of this move actually coming after some reports pre-market. So if we look at the E-mini S&P and we go to a 5-minute chart, we see this slide here, and it actually started right around 8:30 Eastern time. So before 8:30, the S&P was essentially flat, or the mini S&P was flat. But then after 8:30 a.m., we saw a little bit of a dip, and that selling has continued right now, trading near session lows. So what was going on? Well, if we look at PowerX Optimizer, go to the economic calendar, we see that we had final GDP and unemployment claims. Now, unemployment claims coming in at 216. So these are first-time filers of unemployment. This was below the 221 that was expected, and at least right now, unemployment new time filers tends to be a little bit on the low side, which would be great for the economy and great for most market conditions. However, we know that with the Fed's policy and plan to raise interest rates to combat inflation, that they would actually like to see the job market weaken a little bit. It remains strong, and the economy at this point remains strong. We see that final GDP coming in at 3.2%. So this is the annualized rate based on the third quarter of 2022. The expectation was 2.9%. So the GDP numbers come in three phases. You have preliminary GDP, and you have you have the advanced GDP, the preliminary, and then the final. So today at 8:30 Eastern, pre-market, we had the final GDP reported. Now, usually the advance is the most significant because this is the first to be released and tends to be the most important for traders. But it looks like that combination was a reason for traders to start selling, or at least an excuse. And markets started to slide after those 8:30 reports, and they continue to be down now. So the S&P down 1.7%. The Dow, as I speak, 1.3%, and the Nasdaq getting hit hardest. The Nasdaq, a nasty drop, down 2.4%. Now we could look at our 50 and 200-day moving averages here, and we see that the Nasdaq is clearly below both. But I want to go back to the S&P, because just a few days ago, the S&P was actually flirting with that 200-day moving average, closing above it. It now looks like it's acted a little bit as resistance, but over the last couple of days, now we're looking at this 50-day moving average as well. So closing below it on Friday, and then closing below on Monday, Tuesday of this week, and then Wednesday right at that 50-day. Today we're back below. So it looks like that 50-day moving average might be coming into play. We'll have to see if we hold up and see some support here around 3,800, or if we continue to slide towards lows that we had in October. Now, I want to talk a little more about the Santa Claus rally potential, what to expect, what I think is going to happen. But let's look at some individual names first. Let's go to Micron here. And Micron taking a little bit of a hit, down 3.5%, trading below $50 at 49.39 a share right now. Micron, they reported earnings after the bell yesterday. They had a bigger than expected quarterly loss. Revenue also in below expectations. They said that the result was because of a declining demand for their electronics, and the company announced it will cut its workforce by 10%. So that's a pretty big job cut. It's interesting because sometimes those job cuts are a good thing for the stock, because there are less labor costs, and sometimes cleaning house would be a good thing. But in light of the declining demand, and that being the case, traders not liking that. And we could see here, if we look at the earnings per share, the estimate was minus 2 cents. They reported a 4-cent loss, so a surprise of 2 cents. The revenue was expected to come in at 4.13 billion, and it came in at 4.08. So a bit of a miss there. And Micron now testing support that was last seen in September. Now, this has had a little bit of a weight on NVIDIA and AMD. So I am in AMD, and we see that right now AMD trading around the lows that were established just earlier this week, but down 6%. So completely erasing the last 2 days of gains and progress there. Now trading at support established in September. We'll see where this one goes. Right now, down, but NVIDIA down even more, down just under 7%, approaching lows that were seen late November. Markus was unable to sell the 170 call. That was something that he was targeting yesterday. There was a nice move higher yesterday, finishing up 2.6%, but today's almost 7% slide has had this drift back down towards 153. So right now he's waiting on selling calls, still in this one, in a good position based on the rescue that he's flown and the premium he's collected, lowering his break even. But right now, not able to sell calls. Now, I want to take a look at CTRA, because this is a trade that both Markus and I are in, and we are in at 26. So we've sold calls a couple of times, and we own shares at 26. With this one today, at first we were trading above $25. We got up to 25.15. I was keeping an eye on calls for next Friday's expiration, so December 30th, but there just wasn't enough premium there. I want to go to PowerX Optimizer, and we'll look at some numbers and see what the premium is right now. But let's first take a look at crude oil, because crude oil has helped out. CTRA being an oil and gas play, higher crude oil should help that stock. But we see that even though crude oil had a 3-day win streak and today approached $80 a barrel, right now down 0.5%, trading at 77.85. So I don't think that CTRA is going to look any better today, unless We get another move higher in crude oil, and we get back towards that 80 mark or pop through it. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at PowerX Optimizer, and let's jump over here to the calculator, because with the calculator, I can slide over. I already have it here in selling calls. I was assigned to 26, and I wanted to sell the December 30th expiration. I could click here to show the premium at different strikes and see what the annualized return would be. And we see that right now, the bid's 5 cents, the offer is 15. We're using the bid since that would be guaranteed if we were to take the trade at the current time. That would only generate 8% ROI based on the premium collected in time to expiration. The 2550 is giving 31%. Right now, the bid's 15, offers 25. So you'd be able to get about 20 cents there. That's dropped a little bit since we started talking. But the 2550, if you were assigned at a lower strike, might be something to consider. Lots of premium at the 25. But right now, for me and Markus as well, we want to stick to our cost basis, our assignment price, try to sell calls at 26. I don't think that it's unrealistic for us to be able to sell calls at 26, if not today, tomorrow, possibly sometime next week. So I don't need to force anything go below our cost basis at this point, since it's relatively a new trade. And right now we've been able to sell those 26 calls. So no need to force things there. Now with both Markus and my plan, our goal is to collect a minimum of 30 cents. So if I'm looking at the calculator here, a minimum of 30% ROI based on premium and the time to expiration. Right now, to get that 30%, we would need to sell calls and collect 20 cents. So not quite there. We'll see if things change today, if crude oil could rally, and that if that does end up helping CTRA. I think we probably need to get up to maybe 25, 30 ish or higher in order to start selling calls. And right now, CTRA is at 24.76. So a little bit a ways away from being able to do that. So that's what we're doing right now. Those are my positions in addition to Google. So Google is my other wheel trade that I have on, aside from a small position in Ride. Google, look at this, taking out December lows. Are we going to get a march back down to November lows? Still a little bit of a ways to go for that to happen, but Google in a bit of a slide since that reversal bar that we saw last Tuesday. Now, are we going to get a Santa Claus rally? This is the question. S&P's at 3805. And we've talked about the Santa Claus rally. This is something that is a term that's used rather loosely to kind of describe or hope that we get a December move higher. But technically speaking, it's defined as a rally in the last 5 days of the year, and it includes the first 2 days of the new year. So with Monday being a market holiday, this would include Friday, tomorrow, and then the 4 trading days next week, and the first 2 days of the new year. So will we get a rally after today's drop? Well, there is a report that could potentially have an impact on the markets, and we'll have to see how traders respond to it. This is Core PCE Price Index. So this is a significant report. It is a key metric that the Fed uses to make their decisions, and something that they want to keep an eye on. And it's one of the data points that they'll look at prior to their February decision, their policy decision and rate decision. So will it matter? We'll have to see. Final GDP is, based on an entire quarter. So this would be more recent data letting us know what happened in the prior month. And if we see some positive data showing that prices are falling, that inflation is getting under control, and we've peaked, then maybe tomorrow's the start of a nice little Santa Claus rally where we drift higher into the open and or into the end of the year and into the new year. If not, if we have a surprise to the upside and prices are still unsustainably high and rising, look out below. So we'll have to see. And I'm curious. For those of you watching, do you think that we will get a Santa Claus rally starting tomorrow, going into the end of the year and during the first 2 days of the new year? One question for you. If so, please comment. I'm interested to hear what you think is going to happen. And then also, I'm wondering where you think the S&P 500 will be at the end of the year. I'll mention tomorrow where I think it's going to end up, but I'm curious where you think things will land. I do believe that Markus is going to owe me some stake. So 4,200 at this point, I'm going to say is an absolute long shot, but curious where you think the S&P will end up at the end of the year. So if you like this video, please give it a like. And until tomorrow, happy trading, everybody.